Hey guys, so this is the introduction to syncretic shamanism. So, what is syncretic shamanism? Well, syncretism, or syncretism, basically means you're combining different principles from different cultures and different things, and kind of combining them together to make a synthesized like version of like everything that those cultures teach. So one way we can do this is by looking at over here over here the thunder wheel, or what my teacher calls the thunder wheel, or the they call it in the Norse tradition. They call it the Aeshjalmur, or the Helm of and that's basically this, with the 8 directions and the 9 worlds. That's what that is. So yeah, let's see. So you'll have to forgive me if this presentation is a little bit disorganized, because I have a lot of stuff to show you guys and stuff to work with here. So forgive me if this is a little bit disorganized. Yeah, it's a lot of information to go through. So basically, um, so basically we're taking different information from different cultures around the world and combining it together. So every single culture, and every single culture has something called a shaman. Um, Basically, shamans are like, you'll find shamanism within every culture in the world, basically, and this is because shamans were crucial. Shamans were needed in the earliest human tribes and things. They needed shamans, basically because they would they would help deal with the spiritual aspect of everyday life. So for example, if something was off balance, like if they if a tribe could not find any water for weeks or maybe a month, then they would it was basically the shaman's job to go to do the work that he needed to do to bring the water. So to find water and things like that. So and also it would be like when they hunted animals and stuff. Um, you know, uh, if they couldn't find something to eat for weeks or whatever, then they would, it was the shaman's job to provide that. So, or figure out exactly what was going on, or how to hunt the animals and where they were and all that. So basically, when we talk about shamanism, we're talking about animism. And animism, because a shaman is basically, what a shaman really is a Tangarist priest. So what that means is, Tangarism is a religion in Siberia, and it's an animist religion. And animism is basically the belief that everything has consciousness. So, for example, you know, people have consciousness, animals have consciousness, plants have consciousness, trees have consciousness, even our own, even the directions have consciousness, because they correspond to different things, as we see here. So that has consciousness, and yeah, it's pretty much that every single thing has consciousness. Every object, every my computer, my mala beads, my Thor's hammer, everything has consciousness. Yeah. And so, since everything is conscious, or since everything has a consciousness, everything can be communicated with as its own, everything is seen as its own separate entity. So, for example, my mala beads, they would be seen as an entity, or my Thor's hammer would be seen as an entity. Anything, really. So yeah. Now let's get into the whole specifics of this, because, and just a fair warning, this is probably going to be a longer video because there's so much material to cover, it's crazy. So, yeah, let me just, give me a second to shrink this. I'm gonna put it over here for now. And then we have, okay, so let's see. So this symbol right here, the helm of Aa, the helm of Aa, or Ea's Yalmer. Basically that is, it's a symbol. It symbolizes the 8 directions and the 9 worlds, and we'll talk about that later. So this is a symbol symbolizing different directions, and so shamans in the past have really done a lot of good work in really figuring out the directions and everything that that has corresponds to them and things like that. So let me just show you this. So this would be called a thunder wheel. Yeah, that would be called a thunder wheel. Or a helm of Aa, or a Ea's Yalmer. Okay, so we have this thing over here, which, this thing over here, and that is called a Ashtanga Yantra. It's called an Ashtanga Yantra. And so, what that means is it comes from the Vedic tradition, and the Ashtanga Yantra is, well, basically it's another symbol. It's like the symbol, it's like this symbol right here. It's like the helm of Aa. So you can see how those two symbols are very much alike. And so this, basically, this is no coincidence. This, my belief and my assumption is that these, the human race started in one place. It was probably Africa, if I have my facts correct. I believe, yeah, we all started in Africa, and so the shamans in Africa, the earliest shamans basically have, people have been working on communicating with spirit and with finding different ways to accomplish things. And basically the role of the shaman is to balance everything, is to achieve balance. So yeah, and but basically, guys, I'm trying to think of the right way to present this or to say this. Basically, you know, shamans can mess with the weather. They can do all kinds of things. They can, you know, heal people. They can like do shamanic journeys and find animals and find water and things like that. They can do all kinds of things, but in this context, you know, what I teach on my channel is the internal balance, like balancing yourself internally, because that's what shamans do. They achieve psychological balance, and any external representation of their balance, of their anything that they manifest in the external world is a manifestation of the changes that they've made internally, of the work that they've done on themselves. So it's all internal, because and so it's, you know, internal. So first I'll explain more about that, but I want to go into the different cultures and this particular symbol, and what it these, you know, what it means, and get into that, and then I'll explain more about shamanism. So let me see. So we have the Ashtanga yantra, and we have the have the thunder wheel, and then there's something else that I want to show you. This is called the Vedic. Well, this is called the I call it the direction wheel. It's like the Vedic direction wheel. It has a name, but I'm not familiar with it. It's, yeah, but basically that's it right there. Let me just see if I can load this up. So we have the Vedic direction wheel, and that basically corresponds to the directions, and you see the planetary correspondences and things like that. So yeah, this was all, you know, this is no coincidence. This the thunder wheel is like the Norse representation of the eight directions, and then the Ashtanga yantra is the Vedic representation of the 8 directions, and then this is like this. Let's see, this thunder wheel. It's like the Vedic one right here. Is like it's like another representation of the 8 directions. And so you see here that they have listed planetary correspondences, and they've listed deity correspondences, things like that. Yeah, so that's another representation of this. So basically what happened is shamans have been, you know, working on this stuff for a long time, and they came up with a good representation of, like, well, these things. Basically, shamanism is intended to be practical as possible, because in the tribes in the shamans and the tribes of in the past have really, like, basically if they didn't do what they needed to do, if they didn't deliver results for the tribe, then they could be killed. Basically, they could be killed by the tribe, because basically that's their whole job, to deliver practical results. Because in the tribes of old, like, they didn't have Walmart to go to get everything. They didn't have supermarkets and grocery stores and all that. So they really depended on a shaman for survival. They really depended on a shaman for survival, and to figure out where the food was, to figure out where the water was, and then later, once in the bigger societies or the bigger cultures, once they had their food and shelter needs taken care of, and food, water, shelter, and clothing, and all that stuff taken care of, then they well, another role of the shaman was to take care of people psychologically. So they would actually heal them psychologically. They could heal them physically. Like, basically any kind of problem would be dealt with by the shaman. So that was the role of the shaman. A healer, someone who would go on shamanic journeys and really figure out what was going on, what the problem was. They would do things like divination. They would do things like runes and chanting and mantras and rituals to the gods and things like that. So yeah, the shamanism was the earliest religion, guys. It really was, and it's not really a religion. It's not really a religion either, as we would think of it, like we think of the the modern day religions, like the Abrahamic religions. So yeah, so we have the Vedic representations of the thunder wheel, and we have the Norse representations of the thunder wheel, or helm of Aa. So let me see what else I have here for you. Yeah, and then we have this is called the, let me see if I can point to right there. It's called the Bagua, and that is the Taoist representation of the wheel, of the direction wheel. And so they had their own correspondences and things like that they came up with. And actually, I want to talk about this for a second. The word shaman has gotten a connotation associated with Native Americans. I'm telling you that's that might be just because that's what we're familiar with as Westerners, as Americans, but the Native Americans weren't the only ones that had shamans in their culture. The Chinese had shamans, the Indians had shamans, the Norse had shamans, and so every culture in the world, not just Native Americans, had shamans. And so this is the I keep using this. This is the representation of all those of the shamanic findings about the directions and stuff. Like they all came up with these these correspondences to the directions, and so it's really fascinating. So syncretic shamanism basically uses all of these, and we come up with this right here. And now I'll go into this a little bit later, but yeah, it has a lot of correspondences in it. I got this from my teacher, and you know, some of the stuff I'm not even sure what it means. I'm still learning, guys, so you know, I do know a little bit, but I'm always learning, always keeping the ball moving forward. So yeah, now let's see. Sorry, I probably that was probably loud for you guys. Sorry. Let's see here. What else do we got? We have the Bagua. Yeah, we have the thunder, another representation of the thunder wheel. So, oh gosh, yeah, okay, yeah. Sorry guys, I'm messing around with this. But yeah, this is another representation of the thunder wheel, and this is the 9 worlds. So basically, what I've learned is there's 8 directions and there's 9 worlds. We have the mist home at the top, and this is north on top. So if you're looking at it, the 12 o'clock position would be north. And with the but yeah, this is another thing I wanted to talk about with this thing right here. Let me just drag this up. So with this one, it's east on top. It's you know, with the east on top at the 12 o'clock position. So so in the Norse culture, or in the Vedic culture, you would always face east. Yeah, you would face east, and everything like the whole direction wheel was based from east being the direction that you would face. So that's why they have it on top there. So yeah, let me actually let me get this in order. I know it's a mess. But yeah, so you know, this is all very interesting stuff, and you know, you might be thinking like, what's the actual practical application of all this? Well, if you get a Vedic astrology reading from me, I can actually, I'll be able to give you a mantra and a ritual. So basically, using that Vedic chart in the lower left, yeah, each of the planets corresponds to a direction, and so we can use those directions to give you a mantra and a ritual. Basically, that would be based on your Dharma Devata. So, you know, and that will, you know, cause you to cause like the unconscious things to be brought to the conscious mind. So, yeah, let me see. So, yeah, then we have the rune wheel too. And we have the see, the screen's getting full, guys. We have the let's see, this is like how the rune will, how the thunder will corresponds with our consciousness. So yeah, I'm getting sidetracked, so let me get back on topic, and I will yeah, I will yeah, be more helpful. So basically, syncretic shamanism combines shamanic practices and techniques and shamanic principles from various cultures around the world. So basically, a shaman's job, well, a modern shaman's job would be to deal with people's psychological issues and to bring basically to bring the psychology into balance, their psyche, their their mental stuff. Because okay, so the actual survival role of the shaman, the role that a shaman plays in a tribe's survival, taking care of their basic needs, is no longer required, because we have things like grocery stores and things like charities to help us, or we have houses and apartments, things like that. And we're very, very spoiled in Western society, as our ancestors didn't have all those things. So basically, a shaman's job in the modern world is to deal with the individual's psychology, their psychological makeup, and to bring that into balance. And that's all I'm doing, guys. If you go over, let me see if I can do this. That on the far left, the self-transformation challenge, that is designed to bring you into balance with your soul. Because if you see here, if you look at the center of that, that's the middle earth. And middle earth corresponds to the heart chakra. The heart chakra, the heart is the middle chakra. So we have three chakras below it and 3 chakras above it. So the heart chakra is the middle chakra. And if we operate from that middle chakra, then everything else comes into balance. So that's how that works. If you put yourself first, as I said in another video, then everything else will come into balance. So yeah. So, a lot of people want to focus on opening up their third eye, but really what needs to be opened first is the heart chakra. And the third eye is not what people think it is. I've talked about that in other videos, but for now I'll talk about shamanism and the syncretic shamanism and how we can apply it. And again, shamanism is meant to be applied, So shamanism has no purpose if you cannot practically apply it. Okay? So shamanism, modern shamanism, deals with psychology. And the Greek translation, or the Greek translation or pronunciation of psychology is suke logia. And it comes from the word suki, or suke, And that means, so suke means soul. So your psyche, is actually your soul, not your mind. A lot of people think that psychology is the science or study of the mind. Nope. Psychology is the science of the soul, or the study of the soul. So suke means soul, and logia means study or science. So psychology is the science of the soul, and this is what the shaman does. The shaman was the first psychologist, really. Because they didn't have psychologists back in the early tribal days. When mankind was just coming into its evolution. So yeah. So all these things over here, all this stuff is a map of the universe. So we have the 8 directions and the 9 worlds, with the 9th world being in the center. But basically, so it's a map of the universe, yes, but it is also a map of yourself and your psychological makeup. So, and why is that? Well, as I talked about in the Neigong versus Qigong video, we are all microcosms of the entire universe. In Western magic, we have as above, so below, as within, so without. So, so as it's in the universe, so it's in ourselves, and as it's like out in the world, as without, as within, so without, so, or as without, so within. So basically, the world is a reflection of your soul. Well, I shouldn't say that. The world is a reflection of your psychological makeup, basically. And so everything has consciousness, and why does everything have consciousness? Even the trees, the rocks, everything. Because you have consciousness. I have consciousness. And so if everything in the world is a reflection of me, then everything has consciousness. Basically, that's how that works. So yeah. Now I want to talk about, let's see here if I have this. Hold on a second, guys. Okay, I'm pulling up my other Word document. Okay, so basically, these things, I keep on using the wrong one. Okay, so these things, this one, and this one, well, these two, this one, those are all, basically, it's called the AS Yalmer, and so as I said, this is a map of you, of your consciousness, of your psyche, of everything. So everything like that. So in the center, watch, let me actually pull this up. Which one should I use? I'm gonna take out a couple of these. Hold on, give me a second. So we have Hold on, guys. Just give me a second. Okay, there we go. Alright, so we have, I'm gonna blow this up. So we have this and this. Okay, so basically how this works is, well, if we want to talk about it in a psychological context, we would use this one. Oh, I'm gonna just do this. Sorry, guys. Okay, so just give me a second. I told you this would be a little bit unorganized. Just because I have so many dang slides. Okay, so that works. So actually let me do this. Go. So we have so basically this corresponds to our consciousness, our psychology, our psychological makeup. And so by facing each of these directions, and actually these are, I want you to think of these not only as directions but as 9 worlds. 9 worlds, so because these all, you know, in the Norse tradition we have things like this. Okay, so yeah. Alright, so we have 9 worlds. We have the Mist Home in the north. We have Asgard in the northeast. We have the Giant Home in the east. We have the Dwarf Home in the southeast. We have the Fire Home in the south. Hell Home in the southwest. The Wind Home in the west, and the Elf Home in the northwest. Okay, so each of these corresponds to different things within our psychology. So yeah, so the north, so basically, let me just read what I have in my notes here instead of trying to, wing it. So we have the 9 minds of Yggdrasil, and this is taken from the Norse tradition. So in the center we have Middle Earth. Middle Earth. So the center represents Earth always. That's Earth. And then we have the center is our current conscious experience, our conscious mind. So this is our conscious mind, our the things that we're aware of, our ego, things like that. Like not our ego, just, the things that we are aware of. And this can be, they say that 90% of the things that, like 90% of our psychological makeup is unconscious. Some people have said that, it can be as low as 60%, but most of our psychological makeup is unconscious. So so this would be the conscious mind. The center is the conscious mind, our earthly experience, what we see, hear, taste, touch, feel, all that is conscious. So then we go to the north, and the north represents the energies that are coming into manifestation. This is the intuitive mind. This is the stuff that you're manifesting. So for example, I've just spent the past couple days working on a beginner qigong course, which you can find on my Patreon. It'll be available July 1st. So this stuff is basically energies coming into manifestation. So like this would be your intuitive side. And so like if we do like a rune reading, a 9-world rune reading, which you can find a link for that down below if you want to get a rune reading. But basically these things, so the north represents energies that are coming into existence. So let me just explain how this works. If you go, so we go from the center to the north, then around, or actually let me see, it would be to the north and then clockwise. So the clockwise motion represents energies coming into manifestation, like from like an idea to a concept, to the birth of something, to its to all the way through to its death, kind of thing. So it's coming into existence and then going out of existence. So that's how that works. And it also can be explained with yin and yang. The yin would be falling, the yin would be the first half of this, and then the yang would be the second half. So it's like you see in the in there in that one to the left. So yeah, the north represents energies coming into manifestation. This is the intuitive mind. So if you did a rune reading and you had you put a card in the north, and that would represent the intuitive mind, that would speak to what your intuitive mind is going through. So then we have the northeast, which is Asgard, and this is our so north represents potential, northeast would represent conception. So this is also represents inspiration, aspiration, hope, and this would be the superconscious mind, the higher self. So if you look at it, the axis of northeast to southwest would be that would be the three selves that I talk about. The conscious mind would be the northeast. The unconscious mind in the navel center would be the southwest, and the soul, the middle self, would be the middle earth, or earth. So we have Asgard, Helholm, and Middle Earth. Or we have we have conception, awareness, and the soul, basically. So let's see. let's talk about so we talked about the northeast. Let's talk about the direction of the east. So the east represents the identity. This would be the giant home. This would be the ego, the giant home. It would represent birth. The sun rises in the east, so it would represent expansion, and it has to do with the ether element. And I forgot to say the north, the direction of north, and is the mist home, and it represents the water element, and it represents potential too. So in the east we have identity and how you give to yourself, basically. This is the ego, the identity. And so if you need to balance your ego, you would face the east and do a ritual for to balance that. You could, there's even runes that you could chant. Let me see if I have that up here. Yep, there you go. Oh, it's in the back. Well, let me just grab that. So there we have the rune wheel. So if you wanted to, you could chant Isa. Isa is the ego. You could also chant Surisaj. Because that's that's actually protection. That's protecting the ego. So protecting, it's like your personal boundaries and things like that. So alright, so so that's how you chant, that's how you do the runes, that's how you work with the runes. And I will make guys, I'm going to as soon as I get done with this course, I'm going to put other tiers on the Patreon. So like if you want to really learn this stuff in this stuff this stuff in depth, then you could join the Patreon. I will make a tier about where I teach syncretic shamanism. It's going to be a mastery of shamanism course, and that'll be everything that I know about shamanism. And it'll be constantly updated. I'll probably post a video on that once a week, hopefully, if not every couple weeks or so. But so if you're interested in that, it's not available right now, but it will be soon, so keep an eye out. Just subscribe to the channel and keep an eye out for that. Also, we have so back to the directions, we have east being the identity, and this is how you give to yourself. So in a rune reading, which I do, you'll find the link for that down below. In the rune reading, this would represent your identity and how you give to yourself, how you like the things that you do for yourself, kind of thing. So then we move to the southeast, and the southeast represents consciousness, and it represents the dwarf home. So this is where your doors would be. So this would be your unconscious. So your unconscious is in your navel center, your lower dantian. And so this would be your unconscious. So basically your dwarves, the unconscious mind makes up everything in existence. So you know how I talked about you are a microcosm of the entire universe. Well, it's actually your lower self that's creating that universe. That's, you know, putting that universe together and shaping it. So yeah, so the southeast would be what you're manifesting. So this would be the subconscious and the unconscious mind. Well, it's more the subconscious because the southwest is the unconscious. So this is the unconscious mind. So then we go to the south. And the south represents action. This is what you are doing. This is also a representation of your energy body. Yeah, so this also represents in the psychological terms, it would represent death. It would represent the like action, like taking action. It would this would correspond to the fire home. It's Aries, things like that. And then in the southwest we have this is what you are not aware of. So this would be your unconscious mind. And yeah. So yeah, this would be your unconscious mind, and it would be, you know, what you're not aware of. So the whole point of the exercises that I teach is to make you aware of the things that you're not aware of. So really developing an awareness about yourself, things like that. And that's available at patreon.com/GibboTheShaman if you're interested in that. That has some really powerful stuff in it. Some powerful energy work and things like that. It's great stuff. So then we go to the west, and this is how you give to others. And this is the empathic mind. And you know, this is a good representation of of the person that I'm trying to become. Basically, the rune Gebo. Let me see if I can find that. Yep, right there. So if we look at the west here, the X shape, the rune in the shape of an X, that would be Gebo, and that's my name. That's my spiritual name. So one thing about me is that I chose that name because it resonates with my meditative mind, with my mind, and of course the mind is in the heart center. And so when you give to others, you give from your heart. And so this Gebo rune, it represents, you know, a mutual, a free exchange of energy. You know, giving to others and receiving, like you know, freely giving and freely receiving. Because back in the Norse days, back, you know, a while ago in Europe, they would have holidays where they would have they would have holidays, but they would also have just like, you know, if your neighbor give if your neighbor needed something, then you would just give it to them. You know, you wouldn't ask for anything in return. You would, you know, because because back then it was assumed that that like it was a very free culture. Like people would just give and receive like nothing. Like it was very you know, because their assumption was, well, if their assumption was that they weren't losing anything. You know, it wasn't like they were losing anything by giving it to somebody else. You know, so that's what that energy is all about in the West. So, let's see. So we have the Northwest. So in the Northwest, this is the ancestors, and this is the higher consciousness. This would be the ancestors, the ascended masters, the bodhisattvas, the elves. So in the Lord of the Rings, how they have the dwarves like Gimli, and they have the elves like the elf queen or whatever her name is. I forget. Well, how your unconscious mind works and your superconscious mind works is the dwarves, the unconscious, is supposed to serve the elves, the higher consciousness. So when Gimli bows down to the elf queen, that's a symbol. That's symbolism of your lower self bowing down to serve the higher self. And that's when your lower self is in alignment. And that's powerful, guys. Aligning your three selves is very powerful. I've been doing this practice for like 8 months, and my higher, like I'm a totally different person than I was 8 months ago. So the stuff that I teach and the stuff that I've learned from my teacher is very powerful. Let me grab my water. Okay, where are we? How long? Oh yeah, we're about an hour now. So let me just so the Northwest is the ancestors, and what this would represent what the ancestors are teaching you. This would represent your higher consciousness. And so we have, we went through the all of the things. So basically how this works is, so these would represent different things within your consciousness. So let me just take off some of this stuff, and I will, let's see, there we go. Okay, so I'm gonna put this up here. Oop. Like that, and like that. Yep, that works. So now let me just move that over. Okay, so basically how this would work is on this top, this thing right here, this top one, this top picture. Let me grab some water first. Okay, so this top picture would represent like how like it's basically a map of your psychology. So the North, we have potential, And then in the northeast we have conception. In the east we have birth. In the southeast we have consciousness. In the south we have death. In the southwest we have awareness. In the west we have wisdom, and in the northwest we have enlightenment. So those are the, it goes from like potential or nothingness to enlightenment, basically. And that's the journey of the soul. So as the soul is coming into existence, it has nothing but pure potential, pure infinite potential. And then as it descends into physical existence, there's the conception, there's our conception, where we're just developing, our birth, where we come into being, and it's funny, so birth is in the east, and the east corresponds with our identity, and we can't have an identity if we're not born, right? So this has to do with our birth, our identity. So then we have consciousness, because we have to be born in order to have a consciousness, right? So it's said that like within the first 3 years of life of an infant, that they are in this brainwave state where they are totally unconscious. They're like in this zoned out state where they're just basically absorbing all kinds of information from their environment, from their parents, from from the people around them, basically. So yeah, we have consciousness in the southeast, and this has to do with our doors, our lower self. And this is, so basically our human self is our lower self. Our human identity is in the lower self. And then we have death in the south. So yeah, to me, I'm honestly still pondering that one. I don't really get it, because south is traditionally associated with action, and it's hard to associate death with an action. But I mean, hey, I'm still learning, and when I learn that, then I'll be back to teach you guys. So what else? Then we have awareness in the southwest, and that that's hell home. That's hell home. So that would be considered hell home. And basically, so the Norse hell is completely different than the Christian hell. In the Christian hell, you're punished when you die. You go to hell and you're punished. But in the Norse hell, that's where you go to work through your awareness. That's where you go to like become conscious of all your unconscious issues. And Mother Hela basically she basically, what happens is when you go to Mother Hela, she basically amplifies all your unconscious projections. So if you don't know already, just go Google the term psychological projection, and you'll find that's basically, you're basically projecting onto the world how you feel about your own self. That's how that works. Um, so yeah, and this is again, the hell home is associated with unconscious, and that's because you project things onto the world, onto other people, because you're unconscious of them. If you were conscious of if you were conscious of your feelings about yourself and about your place in the world, then you wouldn't project that onto others. Like, for example, a good example of projection would be uh, a husband accusing his wife of cheating on him when he's the one cheating. Yeah. That's basically because he's like, he he's basically insecure about what his wife will do to him. Yeah, if like he's basically insecure about his wife cheating when he's the one cheating. So, I mean, that's just one example, but uh, another another kind of thing would be narcissism, where you think that everything is about you, and you kind of, if someone does something, uh, maybe they cut you off in traffic or whatever, you think it's because they're you know you think it's like a personal attack, but really it's not. Really, they were just not paying attention. um that kind of thing. So the narcissist will always make things all about them. So yeah. Now, another thing with this is, let's see. So we were in the Southwest, and so the West has to do with wisdom, and this is kind of where this is like your grandparents or the elders in the tribe. They have some really good wisdom, and this has to do with the sunset, because the sun sets in the west. So this is, the later years in your life, like when you can really look back and reflect, and you're older and you're wiser. So this is like your grandparents kind of thing, where grandparents will kind of share their wisdom with their grandkids about doing what makes them happy, instead of doing what their parents want them to do, that kind of thing. So yeah, that's wisdom in the West, and that has to do also with the Denney. I believe it's the Denney, the fertility goddess, the fertility gods and goddesses. So like Freya and Frey. Yeah. And then in the northwest, we have enlightenment. This would be where the ascended masters are, and this is like the message from the ascended masters. So if basically this stuff has been all theoretical and all like knowledge and stuff like that, but basically you guys can use this in a practical way. So if you wanted to get enlightenment, if you wanted to get advice from the ascended masters and from your ancestors, you would face northeast, and you would, you would do a chant like, Om Namah Shivaya. Do that, and you would get, an ascended master would come down, and they would give you enlightenment, give you some enlightenment, some awareness. So yeah, this is how this can be used in a practical way. If you are wanting to, if you're wanting to find a new job, let's say, you would face north. That's things coming into manifestation and coming into existence. You would face north, and you would chant like a ritual. You would do a ritual to your Palana Devata, because that has to do with your physical, material security, things like that. So all this stuff, it's very, very wrapped up with the intellect so far, but really, the bottom line is use this stuff in a practical way. You can do mantras, you can do rituals, you can do qigong forms, you can do negong, you can do shengong using these directions. So yeah, that's what this stuff is intended to be used for, guys. Let me see how I am on time. I'm gonna wrap it up pretty soon. But yeah, I just wanted to go over this stuff. I'm gonna take this off. What was that? Oh, here we are. Okay, so now I want to talk about this graph here. This has a lot of information on it, and some of it I really don't even know. Like, it's a lot to take in. So let me blow this up so I can read it, because I don't have this. Okay. Alright, so we have, so here, now I'll talk about the 5 elements too, because that's important with the directions. So in my course, let me move this down. So in my course, right there in that orange box, the Self-Transformation Challenge. So in phase 2 of that course, I teach you about the 5 elements. And the 5 elements are used to, as, like, to help you with emotional alchemy, to help you transform and transmute the emotions. I would say more transform than transmute. But yeah, so you would start off with ether in the east. East, we have ether, and then you would go to fire in the south, and then you would go to the earth in the southwest, then you would go to metal in the west, and then water in the north. So yeah, you could, in my course, I teach you the 5 element forms and the 5 element breaths, qigong forms and breaths, and basically they are designed to build a certain energy in your body to help your body resonate with a certain element. So for ether, you would do the breath and the sound. You would do the sound and the posture, and if you got really good at that over time, you will begin to feel to fill the element of ether. So that's that. So yeah, that cycle, remember, clockwise is always that's the creation cycle. So when you go from ether to fire to earth to metal to water, that's the creative cycle. So so what the 5 elements are used for is emotions. So for example, wood would correspond to resentment. And so if you have resentment, then you would work on the ether element. And then, but you really shouldn't work on each of these like alone or separately. They should all be combined. The 2 elements that are safe to work with are ether and earth, because ether is basically all of the elements as they're barely coming into existence. And then earth is all the elements as they have come into existence, and they're balanced. They're balanced and they're centered and they're grounded, basically. So it's safe to work with earth and ether. So yeah, what else? So we have different Norse deities that you could work with in the different directions and stuff. Let's see. So yeah, this picture has a lot of information on it. So yeah, kind of a lot, but you can look at that and figure it out. I will go over this in more detail, but I kind of just wanted to go over, what shamanism was all about and the specific kind of syncretic shamanism that I teach, and that I've learned from my teacher. So, yeah. Let's see, what are we at? Okay, so yeah, I'm not gonna take up too much more of your time, guys. I'm gonna end it here. Anything else I should mention? So yeah, if you want a Vedic astrology reading, go to vincent.thunderwizard.com. You want we want to get in on the celestial qigong or the self-transformation challenge, you would go to patreon.com/GetWithTheShaman. And yeah, I guess this is the video. So hope you guys enjoyed. If you enjoyed it, like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Leave me a comment to let me know what you're interested in me teaching. So like, if you want me to talk about anything in particular, next time I do a video, then you should leave a comment and leave me a video suggestion, because I'm kind of, my mind's all over the place. So, because I have, I'm constantly thinking of different things to teach with you, to share with you guys and teach you guys. So, I have a million topics to talk about. So, yeah, we will talk to you guys next time. See ya. And have a good day, everybody.